Welcome to the show that is a life hack. Chaotic commentary. Everything's on the table. Nothing is sacred. News, sports, politics, sex. That one time at band camp. You never know what you will get, but you will laugh, think, and be informed. Let's spend a little time with chaos.
Sex. I mean, it is in the intro. It is like incorporated in there, and I have not even touched the surface on a topic yet. Welcome to Chaotic Commentary. I am Chaos. I am the one who has all the Facebook degrees and the microphone in front of his face. So everything I'm saying, it just must be true. It just must be facts. It must be it. Gonna get some housekeeping out of the way early because sometimes as I go through the show, I think, oh, I forgot to mention. Let's talk about Pelham Place. Make sure you take a look at that. That's my boy Jay. He is. He's just the man. That's just all. Like I said, show is awesome. And then make sure to check out my boy V on the Revolutionary Revelations podcast. He should be hitting it back up again soon too. And then just check out whatever else you feel you need to check out. But start with those two, work your way into your world, and have a good time. So are we at the point now to where sex work should be able to be thrown on a resume? And actually, let me take that back. I shouldn't say should, because who am I to tell anybody what they put on a resume? But whatever you want on there, we spend half the time. If you put a resume together, you actually spend half the time making something sound significantly more important than it is. You could be a clerk at a grocery store, which I love you for because I need my shit, and your resume could say I am an I'm an Olympic style organizational person where I can fucking put shit together better than anybody. You sound like a scientist when you're putting bread in the right planogram on the bread aisle. You have to, it's like the goal is, how do I make this sound much more cool than it actually is, so that way the person on the other end is reading it. So I mean, why not? So we're in an age of OnlyFans, and Lord knows, to afford a full tank of gas, I sure as hell have thought about joining OnlyFans. Why not? Gas just keeps going up, although I take that back. It does look like it's going down a little bit. Full disclosure, I've never screwed around with OnlyFans. I've heard about it, and I'm a big fan of the adult entertainment. I am not afraid to check out the adult entertainment. I like to look, and if you go, seriously, if you're having an honest conversation, the conversations you have with people, if anybody tells you that they don't like sex, they've probably been married for about 10 years to the same person. And, it's definitely Netflix and chill on shepherd pie night than it is, maybe Tuesday night is where they have sex night and they don't like it all that much. But other than that, there really isn't too many people that you're like, oh yeah, sex is not for me, unless there's been some serious trauma, which here's to hoping for no serious trauma. Daddy issues is not trauma. So sex work and OnlyFans, if you have this and you've been doing this, the reason I bring it up, it's Ariel Egozi, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. On her resume on LinkedIn, she has sex work in there. And she talked about, and of course she got to tell about it. But she's talking about it, and she kind of goes into it. She's like, well, why not? I mean, it is work. I did leave a high-paying job in an office environment that had great benefits, that I had $2,000 in the bank. And then when I went and did, I believe she did OnlyFans, but she said when I did sex work, all of a sudden I had a much bigger income. I think she said she used her power. She found her power and felt great about it. And I am the biggest fan of people who feel great about anything that they do, no matter what it is. I mean, if it's back to the clerk at the grocery store, you feel great about it, that is insane. I am happy for you if that's what you love and you enjoy doing it, because being happy is the hardest thing. Everybody is so fucked up in their head half the time, it seems, that being happy is not as easy as it used to be. So if this is what she needed to do to be happy, hey, props to her. The reaction is interesting. People are very much so, hey, we don't need to be putting this on a resume. I mean, bullshit. Like, especially if it's something, from what I understand of OnlyFans, you've got to worry about camera, you've got to worry about lighting, you've got to worry about more than just, hey, I'm naked. Because there's some people naked that look ugly as fuck, and you just don't want to see that. The My Power part I thought was interesting. I don't know if I would go so far as like, we're not He-Man or She-Ra up in here. You know, I have the power. It's not Grayskull rolling through. But if you feel empowered, that might be a little bit of a different thing. You know, she feels empowered to do this, and it feels like it, you know, she's got a little bit more swag and more money in the bank account, and this is what makes her feel good, then absolutely. Because really, you know, who doesn't have sex and doesn't feel good? You know, it's that. She talked about how she was shot down quite often, and it didn't bother her because that was just part of the business. That's how it goes. So I can tell you, I've had many friends who have paid, like, Vegas is a home away from home, pretty much. Well, it's a home away from home, I think is the best way to put it. There have been many bachelor parties, or just many times where I've been out there with the guys, where a couple of the guys have said, I need one of those hookers. And they get them. And we've seen it happen to the point to where you'll be sitting at a, I wouldn't say blackjack table because we were never there. Back in these days, I think it was a Caribbean stud table, which is now known as Ultimate Hold'em. But, you know, you could tell the pit boss at one point, hey, I need some companionship. And there would just be like a runway, you know, pretty much of girls that would come through, and the guy would pick which one he wanted, and boom, that's good to go. It blew me away. Like, I could never imagine paying for sex. It just doesn't seem, I don't know, that escapes me a little bit. Some are there. But putting it on a resume, like if you're an employer and you say, hey, I worked at Best Buy for 15 years and I recently did sex work for the past 2 years, wouldn't that be, this person is very interesting. This person is somebody you might want to talk to, and you are now in your own world somewhat of an entrepreneur. Just found it interesting. And like, I don't know why it's such a taboo topic. Like, people freak out. And I'm sure it's a religious angle, and I'm sure it's a conservative angle. But you know what angle is the best? It's the one where the person feels good about themselves, can afford their life, and wakes up with a smile on their face. That's the angle that should be the most important. And I guess it needs to be reminded, and I'll do transitional material. So, like, are you guys like me? Do you miss the Florida Man stories? I totally miss the Florida Man stories. I felt like for a good 6 months, every couple of days, there was an amazing Florida Man story. And like, I saw one today about a guy who was trying to elude police on a jet ski or something like that. But he didn't know how to drive a jet ski, and he also didn't know how to swim. What would the Florida Man starter kit be? If there was a Florida Man starter kit, what would that consist of? I would assume a pair of jorts, fake tattoos, a John Deere hat, maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong there. Some sort of entry-level opiate, I think is what that would go with. But you know, as a man, half a hairline, kind of, sort of, a little bit. I don't know. If you have a good idea, or if you think you're like think about it. If you're like, oh my gosh, the best Florida Man starter kit would be, and then you just text it 765-610-9591 and just put at the top Florida Man and put what you think the starter kit should be. I'd love to hear. Might as well. Let's go there. I didn't think I'd see this one. The Kansas City Royals headed up to go play the Toronto Blue Jays for a series starting today. Actually, I think as I record this, the first pitch of the first game just went off, and 10 Kansas City Royal players couldn't make the trip because they're not vaccinated. Everybody who goes across up into Canada, you can't go unless you're vaxxed. I just thought it was interesting. I don't want to say I thought, you know, but 10 for one team I thought was pretty big. You see, you know, NFL, you have it a lot in hockey, basketball. But baseball, this one was the biggest that I'd seen. So, you know, COVID seems like it's a bit on an uptick. I think people just kind of tuning out because it's white noise. It's just what we're used to hearing about. More and more cases are coming up. Definitely not as fatal as it once was. It's kind of turned into just a revolving sickness. Gov in his household has, dealing with some COVID right now. So it's definitely something that's not gone. It's just not as like, remember in the beginning, it was like, holy shit, this is going to kill people. And it did, killed a lot of people. And it was just, you just didn't know what was going to happen. Now you have a good idea. You have an idea what's strand, but I just didn't think I'd see that. So anyway, I just thought it was worth mentioning. I really tried to talk NBA free agency. Like, I was really hoping there'd be a whole bunch to talk about, and there really has been nothing except for today, especially around the area that I'm in. Indiana Pacers signed DeAndre Ayton to an offer sheet of $133 million for 4 years. So it's about $33.25 million a year. Not bad. Pretty good tax bracket he's going to end up in. Now, the Suns have 2 days to match this. And I know some of you listen for sports. Some of you listen for just the news, the beginning part. So this might bring some of you in, might send some of you out. I'm not sure. But can you just, it's an insane amount of money. It's insane. And if this happens, and if the Suns don't match this and keep Ayton, the Warriors are repeating next year. They're at least the ones coming out of the West. So they're going to be the ones you want to look at, because it's not going to be good. The Suns, I know, weren't much of a contender last year. I'm sure people are thinking Dallas, and Dallas is going to be all right. They'll make some moves. The Clippers are going to be really good. I guess I should say the Suns, they're going to be good, or they were good last year. It's just they didn't make a deep run into the playoffs because Dallas got rid of them. The Golden State Warriors, it's going to be hard to beat them. It's going to be hard to beat them in the West, not just because they're the defending champs. They've been there before. They've got the best shooter in the NBA. But let's throw in they get James Wiseman back. I mean, like, they don't need to sign anybody. They're getting a beast in the middle back, which was probably their biggest deficiency last year in the playoffs. Just somebody to take care of the paint. And they get better. So if Ayton signs with the Pacers, they're going to be strong. They're not going to be better than Milwaukee. They're not going to be better than Miami. They're not going to be, I don't know. It's hard to put them where else they might be. But it's also going to be fun to see. It'll be a lot of fun to watch. And if you are looking at any futures prices, because Boston is the favorite right now, and I don't know that the Pacers would be better than Boston, you might as well jump in on some Golden State Warriors action, because if Ayton stays with the Pacers, that's going to free up an easier path for the Warriors in the West. So that's where I'll leave it this week. Talk a little sex, talk a little sports, talk a little COVID. I mean, why not? So I will be back in a couple of days. You guys have a fucking awesome weekend, and be good to each other.